It's Glenn Livingston with SuperSplitTester.com, and I've got some very good news for you. Your competitors are making split testing decisions using the wrong numbers, and there's very likely money in your account right now sitting on the table if you'll just go back and reanalyze some of the decisions that you made. Here's what I mean, and here's how I'd like to illustrate it. Let's look at a very common situation where you've split test two ads and you've got this kind of funky output which says that one of them has a clearly better click-through rate but a lower conversion rate. And how do you know? How do you decide which ad is actually the better ad? Do you choose based upon click-through rate? Do you choose based on conversion rate? Is it a combination of both? And the answer is actually a combination of both, and I'll show you why. Let's go to the next slide. You obviously need to do some calculations to figure out what this really means. And if you multiply it out, you'll see that the top ad, the one with the higher click-through rate with the lower conversion, got 533 sales. And if we divide that by the number of impressions, 533 divided by this big number here is actually about 1 sale for every 1,000 impressions. If we do the same math on the lower ad, multiply this all out, we'll find that that ad got 561 sales, and that's actually 1.5 sales per 1,000 impressions. So this bottom ad is looking pretty good. Let's do a little more math and make sure that we're comfortable with it. If we assign a value per sale, so if we know, for example, in this case that a sale is worth $95 in membership fees to this, proactive dog rescue organization, then we can see that the bottom ad for every 1,000 impressions is going to be creating $137.50 in revenue, whereas the top ad is only going to be creating $95. So it's pretty clear that it looks pretty clear that the bottom ad is going to be worth more to us, even though it's got a lower click-through rate. That's interesting, right? It's because it has a higher conversion rate. But to really decide, we need to know not only the revenue numbers, we need to know the cost numbers. And because in most of the pay-per-click systems, you wind up paying more per click for ads that get a lower conversion rate. It's actually a little more complicated than it looks on the surface. We have to multiply everything out, look at the cost per click, look at the total cost for the ad, then so we can compare apples to apples, since these two are actually working on different levels of impressions. We need to look at the cost per 1,000 impressions. This is interesting all by itself. You can see that they've got a very similar cost per 1,000 impressions, even though they've got different cost per click. That's actually because Google looks to make a very similar amount per 1,000 impressions, no matter what they do. And when you know the cost per 1,000 impressions, and you know your revenue per 1,000 impressions, well, revenue minus cost is going to be your profit per 1,000 impressions. And now we can clearly see that ad B is going to make us $102.72 for every 1,000 times we show it, whereas ad A is going to make us $61.25 every 1,000 times we show it. If we do the math, look at the difference between those two, we'll see that the ad with the lower click-through rate is actually about 68% better at generating profits for us. That's the difference between this number and that number. 102 is about 68% greater than 61. And if we think about what's going to happen over the next 100,000 impressions, well, that means there's over $4,000 more to be made from the ad with the lower click-through rate. So by doing some of the math behind the scenes, you can actually calculate exactly what each ad is going to be worth to you. And the good news is there are probably ads in your account. If you just look at your deleted ad history, there are probably ads in your account where you may have chosen the higher click-through rate ad, or you might not have considered the cost per click correctly and done all this math behind the scenes. And if you'll use SuperSplitTester.com to do these calculations for you, there's probably money sitting on the table, and you don't have to do anything besides go in and enter these numbers and pick the right ads and put them back up. Now, there is one more component to consider before you go and make those decisions, and that is, are these numbers stable for any given test do you have enough data to know that this is not due to chance and is likely to be stable over time? And of course, in statistics, we can never know with 100% certainty, but we can create a confidence interval. We can calculate how likely it is that we can be sure of this test and be confident in this test. And there are three components. Unlike when you're just testing for a difference between click-throughs, there's actually three components of this test. You want to know how confident you are that the click-through rates are different. You want to know how confident you are that the conversion rates are different. And you want to know how stable is the overall profit per impression analysis. And I have to tell you up front that the reason that most people don't do this, besides the fact that they don't know how to do it, and there wasn't a tool until supersplittester.com to let you do it easily, I have to tell you one of the reasons people don't do it is that it takes more data to get the stability. You might have heard a rule of thumb that you need 30 actions on each ad before you make a decision. Well, that's actually the layperson's rule of thumb when you're not using a tool to do the calculations for you. But the bottom line is you need a certain number of actions before you can make a decision about that. Well, just like you need 30 clicks to make a decision about the difference between click-through rates, you also need a certain number of sales to make a decision about the difference between sales. And you need for both those comparisons, the sales and the clicks, to be stable before you can make a decision about profit per impressions. You don't have to worry about all this math. Super Split Tester will do it all for you behind the scenes. And it will show you exactly how confident you are in each of these three analyses. And the bottom line is, when you enter all these numbers, you want to wait until you've got a reasonable confidence level, at least 80%, 90%, depending upon how much risk you're willing to take, in the profit per impression overall combined analysis. And Super Split Tester will break out the confidence for each of these three things for you. So it's really easy if you'll just enter your numbers, click-through, conversion, impressions, and cost per clicks, and then assign a value per sale. You'll find out which ad has a better click-through rate and how stable that difference is, which ad has a better conversion rate and how stable that difference is, which ad's going to make you more money every time it's shown, and that's where you want to make your decisions. And if you'll just go back and analyze your old ads, if you're like most Google advertisers or MSN or Yahoo advertisers, you probably have hundreds of ads you've tested. Odds are a few of them are going to make you more money if you reactivate some of the old ones that you chose based on click-through rate or based on incomplete information. So when you go over to supersplittester.com, you're going to see that you've got the average value per sale. It doesn't really have to be in US dollars. If you're in the UK or Australia, please excuse our United States-centric ism. Just put in a number here that represents what the sale is worth to you. You can actually, if you are measuring leads as your conversions or opt-ins as your conversions, you can put in a number that the opt-in is worth, put in the gross number that the action is worth to you after any fixed costs, of course, except for advertising. And then down here, put in the click-through rate, conversion rate, number of impressions, and cost per click for each ad. When you hit submit, we'll do all the math for you behind the scenes, and we'll show you not only which ad is the winning ad, which ad is going to make you more money over time, but also how much more money it's likely to make you and how confident you can be in that decision. That's it. Go use, enjoy, tell your friends about supersplittester.com, please. Thank you.